Okay friends, today we'll be looking at the Arduino Uno board, which is actually a development board that's based on the Atmega 328P microcontroller 8-bit family. So the Arduino board is a development board mostly used as the brain or the center of operation for most automated projects. For you to use the Arduino board, you have to write some form of programs which would be transferred into the Arduino board from your laptop or your computer through its USB. So there's the Arduino USB, the Arduino Uno USB, where you could on it like this. So it comes in like this. You write your program on your laptop and then you transfer the program using this USB to the Arduino board. So we'll just keep the USB aside for now. So the Arduino Uno board is used by most engineers or robotics engineers or embedded systems engineers trying to develop on some form of project. It's also used by students who are trying to build, some form of school projects or thereabout. Now the Arduino board is divided into some parts. The Arduino Uno board is divided into two major parts: the power supply part and the GPIO pins. This is the Arduino Uno board that we just saw some seconds ago, and this Arduino Uno board is divided into the power supply part and the GPIO pin part, where the power supply part is actually divided into has about five parts, which are the USB and the 3.3 volt, the 5 volt, the GND, the battery plug. So all these five components constitute the power supply part. And for the GPIO pin part, the GPIO pin part is for the divided the analog pins and the digital pins, right? Where the analog pin is divided, or the analog pin is made up of 6 pins, counting from the A0 to A5. So we have A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, which is 6 analog pins, and then the digital pins are 14 pins, counting from pin 0 to pin 13. That's pin 0, pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, pin 5, and up to pin 13. So that's what these are what constitute the Arduino Uno board on a surface level. So switching back to the Arduino Uno board, the Arduino Uno board is divided into two major parts, like we said: the power supply part and the GPIO pin part. So the power supply part is this. You can see power here, power supply, and we saw that it was divided into the 5 volts, 5 volt, 3.3 volts, USB power, and GND, and the battery plug. So this is the power supply part. You can see this is the line, the power supply part, right? Power supply part, and the USB and the DC battery plug. Here is it, the DC battery plug, the USB, and all these powers here. So we have the 5 volt, like you saw on the paper, the 3.3, 5 volts again, which is also 5 volts. We have the GND and V in. So the GPIO pin is made up of the analog and the digital, the analog here, and then the digital pin here. Everything here digital, here analog. So this part and this part are the GPIO pins. Here and here are the GPIO pins, while here, from here to here, is the power pins, including the battery plug and the USB. So I will just focus on the GPIO pins for now. So having stated that the GPIO pins is actually made up of the digital and the analog pins, right? So the analog pin is made up of A0, you can see A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. So this is the analog pin, the analog pinout, and the digital pinout starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, which is for the digital pinout. So what are GPIO pins? So GPIO pins are actually general purpose input output. GPIO, general purpose input output. So these are the pins that allow this Arduino Uno board to interface or to interact with the outside world. When you're building a robot, or when you're building a smart device, you can only do that by integrating the brain, which is the Arduino Uno board, with that smart device or with that robot that you want to control. And the only way to do that is by allowing the brain to interact with that device. And we can allow the brain to interact with the device using the GPIO pins, so input and output. So it can read in the input state and the output state, which we'll be seeing in some other videos, subsequent videos that we'll be making. So, but for now, it's good for us to know that the GPIO pins is actually made up of the digital pins and the analog pins, which are used to interact or to interface with the outside world. So like we saw in the video some seconds ago, the GPIO pin is divided into the analog pins and the digital pins. So the analog pin is are pins which have the A0, from A0 to A5, and the digital pins are actually pins that are from pin 0 to pin 13. So the digital pins do not give out signals in the continuous form. So, but the analog pins give out signals in the continuous form, right? So digital pins are pins that only give out zeros and one, while the analog pins actually consists of discrete levels of signals, which are actually continuous going on. Having explained the GPIO pins, right? So we'll be looking at the power supply pins, which I'll be demonstrating some things practically with you guys. So the power supply pins consists of the USB power, the 3.3 volts, the 5 volts GND, and the battery plug, right? So I also forgot to put another one here, which is the VIN in, so which I'll be showing you shortly. The power supply pins, as you saw in the book, are pins from here to here. Also, the power supply also includes this DC battery plug input, and then the USB input. So, meaning that this Arduino board can be powered by various means. You can you can either power it through this point here, or you can power it through this point here, or you can power it through this point here. So let's look closely at this point. Right now, the power supply has the 5 volt. Neglect this one, this RES, the 5 volt, the 3.3 volts, the 5 volts again. These two 5 volts are the same thing. It's just to accommodate for several power outputs, and GND and V in, right? So now this 5 volts part, let me move closely to the Arduino board so you can all see it. So it's clear now, right? So turning it like this, so we have the 5 volts, 3.3 volts, 5 volts, GND, and V in. So these 5 volts here, the two 5 volts and the 3.3 volts are actually used for output power supply, while the V in and the DC plug and the USB are used for input power supply. So if you want to power this board, if you actually want to power this board, you can power this board through the V in, the DC battery plug input, and the USB. While if you want to power something, let's say you want to lighten the bulb, you want to lighten the bulb or the LED, you can use the 5 volts, 3.3 volts, or this 5 volts here. Where the ground here, this GND is the negative, which is general. It's actually general. So you plug your, when you want to power the board, you plug the positive to V in here. You plug the positive to V in. You plug the positive to V in here, and your negative to GND. You plug positive to V in and the negative to GND, or you power it through the DC plug here and or the USB here. So I'll be demonstrating like some ways we can use to power this. Meanwhile, for the output power supply, if you want to lighten the bulb, you plug the bulb to the 3.3 volts here, 3.3 volts, and you plug the positive part of the LED or the bulb to the 3.3 and the negative to ground. So that I won't be demonstrating that. I will only be demonstrating how to power this board. This 5 volt, the 3.3 volts, and GND are used to power devices from the board. But if you want to actually power this board, we use the V in, the DC plug, and the USB. Any of them, leaving out the 5 volt. The 5 volts, 3.3 are only used for powering devices with the board, whereby the board gives out power supply. But we want to power the board now using any of these three. So I'll be demonstrating using only this DC plug and V in. In later or subsequent videos, I'll be demonstrating powering the board through the USB, where we'll plug it to our laptop. This USB serves as both a power supply and for programming this board. So we have our battery here, and our connecting wires and plug here. So all these components, you can actually get them from the DAEROBOTICS online store, hardware store, www the DAEROBOTICS.com. So you go to the online shop there, you see all these things. You see the Arduino board, you see the you can find the battery, and you can also find the Arduino board, right? And including the USB. So I'll be demonstrating how to power this board. First, I'll be demonstrating how to power it through the DC plug. So this is the DC plug. Okay, we plug this to this battery here, and we'll power it. We'll use this to power the Arduino board. So now plugging this to the battery. Okay, remember you can get this from the DAEROBOTICS online store, right? www.daerobotics.com. So now I've plugged it to the battery. Now let's plug it to this. Okay, so we've plugged it, and now the Arduino board has come on. Okay, so this one form, or this one way to power the Arduino board. So once you've programmed the board, and you want to place the board on a project, you just power it like this and allow it to run. Maybe you've constructed like a robot, and you've programmed this Arduino board, and once you've done programming the Arduino board, you power it like this and place it on the robot, and the robot starts functioning. So that's one way to power the board. So another way is to use this one, the V-in I described earlier on. So we'll plug it. We'll use this one that doesn't have the DC plug. You know, they're different. They're actually different. This one is just ordinary naked and with the jumper wires. So sorry for the video shaking. So plug this, and now we'll connect the positive, the red, to V-in. And then we plug the black, the negative, to ground here. So let me zoom in so you can see exactly what I did. So we've plugged the red of the battery to V-in. Let me focus the camera. To V-in, you can see V-in, plug the red to V-in, right? Then we plug the negative to ground, GND. You can choose any ground you want to plug it to. So I'm choosing this one. Okay. So here the board comes on. Okay. So now the board is powered on. The Arduino board is powered on. So remember, you can get all these from the DAEROBOTICS online store, www.daerobotics.com. So we've looked at the parts of the Arduino board and just about the ways to power the Arduino board. So if this video helped you in one way or the other, so you can like it, and also subscribe to the DAEROBOTICS channel, YouTube channel, and also share the videos with others. And if you've got any question, you can make a comment in the comment section just below. And also if actually you want to be getting into all this, you can just chat us up either on our WhatsApp or on our WhatsApp handle, or via the DAEROBOTICS email, which is daerobotics85@gmail.com. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching the video, and I hope you all learned from it.